Good morning. I'm Jim Czek with KelownaNow. I have with me on the phone Iain Burns, our managing editor, and we're going to get right into it. And it's a lot of Trump stuff. Iain's got a bunch of stuff in 5 things, and one of the top ones is what the Trump election victory could mean for Canada. What did you get out of that, Iain? A lot of people saying some negative stuff for sure.
Yeah, the overwhelming message is a negative one. Yeah, it's a negative prognosis, I think, mostly to do with, two things. Trade, because obviously Donald Trump is a fan of tariffs.
Yeah.
And though should emphasize that so was Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll put that aside for a second. And then the other one is defense. And obviously, as we've known for a long time, Canada doesn't really spend enough money on its military, doesn't really have the military capability that perhaps it should have, or certainly that America thinks it should have. So there's going to be a lot of pressure to spend more money on planes and tanks and whatnot.
It'd be fair to say that Canada has neglected its military obligation, and Donald Trump has been, the last time he was in power, is very adamant that the NATO nations fulfill those obligations.
Yeah, lots of quite funny pictures. Well, you could say iconic pictures from NATO summits where they were all sat opposite him with their arms folded, and he was just there. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be that again, isn't it? It's going to be his general argument is, why should America spend all this money to keep you safe when you don't even spend on yourselves? You don't even try to protect yourselves. And I suppose it is quite a powerful argument, at least domestically in the US.
But there was a study from the CBC that's saying that an analysis done saying that it could actually be good for Canada, the Trump presidency. So, I mean, obviously, we are a large supplier of minerals and resources and energy. So, I mean, that's something that if a booming economy, if it's going to be the golden age of the United States, they're going to need to draw on resources. And Canada is rich in resources.
Yeah, well, we provide them with quite a lot, don't we? I mean, a lot of their lumber. I think they are the biggest lumber producer in the world, aren't they? But because they build so many houses, they still need Canada's. Obviously, as well, in terms of energy, it's not just the oil and the gas. They've got a lot of that, but it's also uranium, isn't it? Which, if we're going to have this nuclear renaissance, they're going to need that, aren't they, from Saskatchewan, a little bit on Ontario as well. And then it's the likes of lithium and bauxite and things like that, that we also have.
And then there was this third one in 5 things that talking from BBC saying that Canada could play that, what we were just talking about, a critical role for the United States, again, based on the mineral supplies we have, especially the critical minerals. And
there's also, all this talk of deglobalization and of America pulling back from the world, that doesn't really apply to Canada in quite the same way, or Mexico. I mean, the arguments that I've heard are that America should kind of retreat to the Western Hemisphere. So, and that is the argument that Christy Freeland and Justin Trudeau have both made, that, we're kind of on the same team. Well, it just remains to be seen whether we can negotiate a good deal.
We are like one of the richest resource nations in the world, next to Russia, and I don't think Russia is a really good trading partner for the United States right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big one is China, isn't it? And what that means, and if they pull back from China. But America's, it's got quite ridiculous geography, hasn't it? It has an abundance of so many minerals, energy, waterways, and all the rest of it. But certainly wouldn't hurt them to have Canada on team as well.
And then there's Pierre Poilievre says he wants to save our jobs. I know that Canada definitely has been suffering under the current leadership, and a lot of stuff has gone south of the border. Pierre Poilievre says that he will work to save our jobs.
Yeah, it's an interesting argument. It's an interesting statement that he made, especially when his enemies in Canada and also in the US and elsewhere have tried to portray Poilievre as a kind of, like a tin pot Trump or something like that, to be in the vein of Donald Trump. But he hasn't. What he said was actually, if you read between the lines, it was actually kind of confrontational. Suggests that he wants to he wants to like compete with the US, and he wants to rival the US and take jobs back as he sees it, which is very, that's not something that you wouldn't perceive that as being Trump-friendly language.
Yeah, and then rounding it off there, most of Trump's legal woes are probably going to go away here because there's a law in the books there that says you can't prosecute a sitting president. So I think most of this stuff's going to fade away.
Well, I'm not sure it's a law. It seems the suggestion seems to be that it's a policy within the Justice Department. But I mean, realistically, that his own government couldn't carry forward a prosecution against him, could he? I mean, he's a leader. He's the head of that agency, theoretically, isn't he? It seems absurd.
I heard some chatter out there that perhaps one of the last acts of Joe Biden would be to pardon Donald Trump of all the prosecutions he's faced, and in exchange for maybe a pardon for his son, Hunter Biden.
Yeah, well, he was also investigated himself, wasn't he, for the mishandling of classified documents. I suppose the argument could be that there's more of that sort of thing lingering. Yeah.
So lots of stuff with Trump for us this morning, but I think we'll be seeing a lot more Trump stuff as we move ahead, as he takes over in the new year here in 2025. We did hear Joe Biden made his first remarks at a podium this morning, and what did you get from that?
He was, he hit the same notes that Kamala did about we've lost this time, but don't give up the fight kind of thing, and the importance of the transition of power. But what I was most interested in was how complimentary he was towards Kamala Harris, talking about her spirit and her backbone, and full of praise for her and for her team, which is interesting given that, they're supposed to dislike each other. That's what we're told from the... Yeah,
there seems to be a lot of blame game going on of why she didn't make it, and then blaming Joe Biden and the mess that he left her with.
Yeah, and I've seen, not just from Kamala's team, but other analysts have said that it was kind of like she was doomed anyway because of the Biden effect kind of thing. But as far as Joe Biden, as far as that speech goes, he doesn't seem to bear any kind of grudge against her anyway.
And then moving locally, we have a video here that's done quite well. Kent and Nick went out there, and there's a little car that's actually legal to be riding on the sidewalks and in the side of the road there. And we'll play that video, Jason.
There's a strange sight being seen in Rutland these days. Something on the sidewalk that's raising a few eyebrows. What do you call it?
Well, it's a mobility scooter.
It looks like a car, Rick.
Yes, I know. And everywhere we go, people come up and ask us about it.
First time I saw it, I was standing on a sidewalk and along you came and I wasn't sure what to think of it.
Yeah, it's got everything a small car's got.
All right, so is it okay if I have a little ride in the back seat?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of leg room back here.
No.
Okay. So if you were in a real hurry, what can this baby do?
It would do 30 kilometers or 32. But downhill, we can get it up to 35, 38.
You were saying that neither you nor your wife have a driver's license now, so you needed another option. Has this filled the bill?
Yeah, it's we have no other choice. When I turned 80 4 years ago, I lost my license. So now this is it.
And it beats being out in the weather on a typical scooter, right?
So that's a small clip of the video that they shot yesterday. You can go on KelownaNow.com and watch the full video. That looks like a warmer alternative as we come into winter for sure.
I'm surprised they're not more common.
Yeah, no, I imagine they will. I guess you ordered it from China. So
probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he said if you watch the full video. Sutton Place Hotel at Kelowna Airport moves forward. That was approved. So that's going to be a 6-story hotel with 245 suites, a restaurant, a bar, gym, swimming pool, conference center, and banquet facility. Lots of stuff going on out at the airport. I mean, that area of the city has just grown dramatically, right? Like there's already a Four Seasons out there hotel, and now the Sutton Place Hotel going out there. So Kelowna Airport getting busier and busier, and now we have a couple of major hotels out there as well as a bunch of other things. And then we got Ken Mulligan again, and Nick went out again and to talk to the city of Kelowna on snow removal as we move into our winter season. It looks beautiful out there right now if you look at the traffic cam that we have going on. But winter is on its way. There's no doubt about that.
And we're joined by Geert Boss, the man in charge of snow removal for the city of Kelowna, the man in charge of getting a lot of complaints every year, right?
Indeed, indeed.
But we're hearing now that there's been a review. You've had a good hard look at things that went well and things that didn't go so well. And it sounds like some pretty big changes about how you approach the job this year.
Big changes, yes and no. I mean, we continuously kind of like go over how did our efforts pan out each year. And basically it was one of the themes that we've seen consistently over the last 3 years was our performance with sidewalk snow clearing, where we really could do a better job. And over the last 2 to 3 years, we've been looking for ways to kind of like do a better job. And then this year is the year where we're making that change.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we were discussing this before, but your crews are so focused on which road is going to lead to calamity first. And that's got to be the priority. And then so the sidewalks get pushed aside, so to speak. So you're just giving that to someone else to do.
Yeah, so we basically created a sidewalk, or recreated the sidewalk program, and we're moving that over to the Park Services Department this year.
So does that all mean that snow clearing is going to be, can you promise, can you give me your promise that snow clearing is going to be better?
I wish I could have that crystal ball and say an unequivocal yes. It's like, it's not for lack of trying. We've analyzed a whole bunch of snow events, and we think people will notice a difference.
Maybe we could have put a plow on Rick's little mobility scooter, and he can help with the sidewalks there. Again, that snow is definitely on its way at some point. Nobody likes to look at that, and especially in the city streets and stuff like that. So make sure you have your winter tires on and all that. And you can watch that full video with Kent there and the city staff member discussing what we can expect this coming year. In the AI segment, there's a cool little AI video that I'd like to show you that it shows you how the pyramids were built. And this is an AI generated video. If we can, Jason can play that. We might be able to get that to play. I mean, anything's plausible in this day and age. You buying into any of that, Jason? There's your dinosaurs.
There's an alien theory. I don't know if it looked like this exactly, but
Well, that's pretty cool that was created by AI. So there you go. AI explaining what the world's going to look like, or maybe showing us what the past looked like. A blend of the future and the past, right? The U.S. Fed Reserve set to cut interest rates today. I don't know if when that comes down, a little later in the day, I believe. And the markets were reacting to that, of course. Then you can see the next image there, where the Fed rates have come from, and then you see that long period of 0, and then or 0.25, and then obviously that dramatic, unprecedented climb, and then the elevator on the way up, and it looks like we're going to take the staircase on the way down. Again, painful, and the same thing shows up in Canada. Obviously, they did a 0.5 cut last time, the Fed, so there's some debate out there whether they're going to do 0.25 or 0.5 again. Donald Trump was, in his past presidency, a strong advocate for lower rates. So with him back in the chair, some people are saying they expect lower rates.
That's what we want to hear, isn't it, in Canada?
We do. Chrystia Freeland said the other day she can't understand why Canadians are still upset. After they jacked rates 19-fold and then they backed them off by 14, she said we should be celebrating. That's like the Bill 'em and stick 'em policy, right? You just stick it until people start screaming, back it off a little bit and say, what are you yelling about?
Well, I wonder as well, are they gonna learn lessons from what's happened in America? Because they had a similar argument, didn't they? The Democrats and Biden was like, look how good the economy is, everyone. Everything's gone fine. But obviously the people did not agree.
The American people did not buy it, and I don't think Canadian people are buying it either. When you're telling people everything's great, and the wealth gap got bigger and bigger, and I think there is definitely at the top end, professional and elitists that did really well, but the majority of Americans and Canadians are suffering, and interest rates are causing much of that pain, as well as high energy costs, and even that recent announcement from Stephen Jabot, it's just going to increase those energy costs. And you said Dan Elvis did a good op-ed in our on KelownaNow, and you can go and read that. Anything you want to share from Dan Elvis's op-ed there?
He kind of, I mean, dare I say it, points out the obvious. I don't think it's politicized to say that. He just said, look at the rest of the world's major oil producers. They don't do this kind of thing. So all that it's going to mean is in the global market that Canadian energy products are going to be more expensive, and that's going to make us less competitive, and it's going to make domestic consumption more costly as well. So, but he also spoke about the timing of that announcement just before the US election, when the people that released that policy, they knew very well that it was going to be completely swamped by news out of America. Yeah. So, and it kind of has been. It's not really in the news today. So it's a good point.
Under the cover of darkness, or under the cover of a big news cycle, right? That's the best time to put out news that you don't want to have to deal with.
Absolutely, yeah.
Crypto continues to rock, hitting 76,000. And then again, there's a lot of talk on Bloomberg this morning about how a Donald Trump presidency will be very favorable to cryptos, Bitcoin, and how it will make it a strategic asset, and changing a lot of the people that were negative on crypto didn't even win their elections. So, like a lot of the people that were very negative on cryptocurrency in the United States didn't make a comeback. So they say even that in itself is definitely favorable for the crypto asset.
Yeah, it's been quite a change, hasn't it? Not so long ago, there was talk from central banks and from treasury departments all around the world that they were going to really crack down on this, but that doesn't seem to be the future.
It even a lot of talk about creating their own central bank currency, digital currency, right? CBDC, but a lot of that has been scrapped. I don't think that very many countries are even still talking about that. I think Polyev didn't he come out and say that he definitely will never do that? So
I believe so. I know certainly he did that famous. He bought a kebab, didn't he, with Bitcoin?
a shawarma or something, wasn't it called? Or something. I can't remember what it was called. I might have got that wrong, but it was a donaire, basically. I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anywhere near as much as you do, but it seems to kind of defeat the whole point if a central bank has its own crypto, doesn't it? Because the whole point is that it's not controlled by a central bank.
And then when he did that, the crypto was on the rise, and it had that big drop off. There was that event that really hurt crypto assets, the FTX scandal and all that FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried. Cryptos kind of fell off a cliff, and then our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, went on to mock Pierre Poilievre's position on cryptocurrencies, saying they would actually bankrupt Canadians. And then I guess they should replay that now, because it looks like he's sometimes you're right, but you're not right with timing.
Yeah, maybe he's gonna go, because he's not said much about it lately, so maybe he's gonna come back big on crypto.
Well, once burnt, maybe twice shy. Gold recovering today, obviously, and then that is more related to the expected rate cut from the U.S. Fed. I'm not interesting though. Gold looks like it's still a very strong asset, being continuously accumulated by the central banks after many years of it being dumped by central banks. But again, that war that's waged in Ukraine and then the one now in Israel continues to push. Well, even the weaponization of the U.S. dollar has pushed many central banks into accumulating gold. Other than Canada, we still don't have any gold reserves. We actually, in our reserves, we have U.S. or Canadian bonds denominated in U.S. currency. That's a weird one for sure.
Yeah, though if I'm reading that right at the bottom there, it looks like the loonie's up a little bit, fractionally.
Yeah. Well, that would be on the trade of the expected cut from the U.S. Fed.
Yeah.
In the stock market, mostly green. The Dow just kind of treading water, but the Nasdaq and them are up. The last time I looked, Tesla's still on a tear. Tesla was up another $10 this morning. So the markets, I mean, people forget that when Donald Trump was in office, the stock market did extremely well, and he's a very pro-business person. And so I heard from somebody yesterday saying that he's going to put the economy into recession, and that I'm just like, my question back was, don't you think Canada's already in recession? If you look at our GDP numbers, so I think a pro-business environment, lower taxes is definitely very beneficial. The investment in business in Canada has gone way down. Layoffs, I mean, I see the layoff notices from big major companies time and time again. That's all I kind of see right now is cutting. So we definitely need an environment where it's pro-business so that people can get back to work and start investing.
Yeah. Something on the stock market that I find quite interesting is the big pharma companies that a lot of people speculated that they were going to suffer a lot because of Robert Kennedy Jr., but they seem to be doing okay as well.
Yeah,
it could one to watch.
It could be a blow off because there was a statement from RFK saying that he's going to clean house, not necessarily get rid of the FDA and stuff like that, but he's definitely going to root out all the corruption in there, because there's a lot of lobbying that goes on in there, right? Like a lot of the big pharma owns big food too, right? So like there's a lot of cross pollination between those two.
Yeah, they're also, the media is involved in that complex as well, because they're huge advertisers in the media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Donald Trump has said that he's going to give RFK a free hand as long as he doesn't touch oil. He says you go and fix the food industry and just leave the oil industry to him. So it'll be interesting to see this cabinet that he starts to put together, right? Because Elon Musk is supposedly going to play a role. RFK is playing a role. Tulsi Gabbard is supposed to be in there. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I've not heard any speculation about Tulsi's position, but that will be a very intriguing one, considering not so long ago she was looked upon as a potential Democratic president, but now she's going to potentially serve in a Republican administration. She's very interesting.
She's a very smart lady, and she also served in the U.S. military as well, and she's from the great state of Hawaii.
Yeah, and she sings along with a ukulele as well if you go on a social media.
There you go. She reminds me a lot of our own powerful woman here in Canada, Danielle Smith. Well-spoken, articulate, and definitely speaks with passion and is really fights for Alberta, and she wants to fight for America.
Yeah, they should do it at the US maybe at some point.
Well, I'm sure one day they shall meet, if they haven't already. Pam and Nikki do a weekly Now You Know. They do that every week. Nikki was off today, so Alexa sat in with Pam, and then we're just going to show you a small clip. You can go on there. It's about 27 minutes long, the full video. But they do cover off all the events that are happening in the next week or so. Right? Jason's going to play a small clip of that.
I'm starting the morning, trying to get to that 5 a.m. club, but that's really hard.
How about the 4 a.m. club?
No.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm 4 a.m. club. We'll be whipping up 2 fall favorites that'll make your taste buds dance with joy. Fluffy, melt-in-your-mouth pumpkin rolls and pumpkin spice whoopie pies. I think that a lot of time people are looking for connections or maybe new friends, and if you're an animal lover, I feel like we all kind of can relate to one another. Often, like the sales department celebrate, the service department celebrate.
What about that men?
Kelowna's Green Gourmet Supper Club is a monthly vegan cooking experience where attendees can participate in cooking demos, view live presentations from local doctors, win prizes, and enjoy, of course, mouth-watering vegan and plant-based meals. This is a 90-minute fun ride that will warm your heart, rekindle memories, and get you out of the house and laughing with strangers.
Because you never know. The more we talk about it, the more we can heal together.
Learn the art of creating rich and velvety cheese fondue and irresistible chocolate fondue. Inspiring talks from industry pioneers who understand AI's real potential.
You know, you're either on this side of AI and trying to adapt it, or you're like, no, it's not coming. Don't worry about it. But it is now.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of get out of that comfort zone. And
once you start, honestly, it saves you so much time. You can say, make me a dinner plan for the week or the month, and then tell it to give you the
recipe, grocery list.
You'll get addicted because it saves a lot of time and is actually pretty fun to use.
Yeah.
If a blue person sees a green person standing by themselves, then they go and rescue them, welcome them into the circle, bring them into the conversation so that it gets less scary the more times you do it.
There you go. That full video is available on KelownaNow.com. Lots of event information. That was Pamela Pearson and Alexa Anderson today doing that. They do that once a week. You can find that on Kelowna Now. They did a really good job of explaining all the events that are happening, and there's quite a few events that actually happen in Kelowna all the time. So if you're looking for that information and looking for something to do, expand your horizons. The last thing we're going to touch on, I think, unless Iain's got something else, is the Kelowna Now auction. Continues to run on the platform, KelownaNow.com. Click the auction button on the top there. Some great stuff. There's some cleaning stuff, and obviously a lot of gift certificates related to food and that. And who doesn't love going to the keg, right? So I like going to the keg for sure. And then there's Porter's Kelowna. It's got some of the best breakfast in Kelowna. If anybody's ever tried it, you can have it for brunch too. They got the smashed potatoes. And one of the favorites of Alexa, we were talking about Alexa there, she loves the waffles and fried chicken. You ever had waffles and fried chicken?
I've actually not. Am I missing out?
It's not bad, actually. I've tried it. She gave me when we had lunch with her, she gave me a piece of it. Like, it's not something I would typically order because it's full of sugar, right? Because it's like, syrup but, it's definitely interesting.
I certainly like both of those things separated. I just don't know about together.
No, they go together. It's amazing they do go together. It's interesting. It's like some people put syrup on their pizza too, or honey and that stuff too. So I don't know.
Yeah, some people even put pineapple on their pizza, if you can believe it.
I actually don't mind that.
No, it is actually. It is quite nice. Yeah.
I know for some people it's like a sacrilege. You know what I mean? Putting pineapple on pizza, but I don't mind that. I'm not so much for the honey on the pizza though. I think that might be pushing it too far. But hey, I think Pizza Hut used to have that dessert pizza, which is basically they put like a jam topping on it and then covered it in icing sugar and stuff like that. It was very, very sweet. But then if you really want a Treatza pizza, there you go, Treatza pizza at DQ, where you get a cookie crust and like ice cream layers, and it's not really pizza anymore. But here's your little cooking tip. I make it at home. It's called an egg pizza. So you just basically make an omelet, cover it when it's almost cooked, cover it with vegetables that you want or toppings, meat, whatever you want to cover it with, and then just cover it like in cheese, and then put it in the oven on broil for a few minutes, and then you got yourself an egg pizza, healthy, and a pizza you can enjoy, whether that's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I love breakfast for dinner.
Yeah, breakfast pizza sounds good.
Anything else out there you see?
Well, like you said earlier, it's just going to be, it's going to be back to 2016, isn't it? It's going to be all Trump all the time. The next big comment is going to come from Vladimir Putin, because he's going to speak, supposedly, they think, in Russia soon. And he obviously, perhaps tongue-in-cheek, said that he wanted Kamala Harris to win, and that was his preferred choice. So now he's probably going to say that he doesn't like Trump very much, I would imagine. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see, because again, one of his promises was to end that war before he takes office. So I think it's about 70 days. How many days? 70 days? We got the month of November, the month of the transition is
20th, I think, isn't it? The inauguration.
So I think it's 76 days. I think Joe Biden said it in his speech. President Biden said it in his speech this morning. 76 days maybe left to get some stuff done.
He did. He actually, quite unusual. He said, "Yeah, we've got lots to do, so let's get on it."
Yeah, there was.
it's quite unusual to do that in that window because you don't really have the mandate anymore. So
There was some talk out there and saying that they were going to try and do some stuff that the next administration couldn't undo, and making some guarantees with Ukraine and stuff like that, and making some commitments that would be hard for Donald Trump to back out of.
Well, that would be very controversial, wouldn't it? And I imagine it would be bitterly resisted by the Republicans.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe Donald's already in there measuring the windows, getting ready to move in.
Apparently they get $100,000 to redecorate. So I don't know if that's going to buy him all that gold wallpaper and gold toilets, but
I don't know. Justin Trudeau gets that for every trip he goes on, doesn't he?
Yeah, he likes his nice hotels.
He definitely does. He must be. Well, let's hope for a spring election. How about that?
Well, I think even if you're inclined towards liberals, just being pragmatic, it might be better for Canada if he's not there. Because as I wrote in 5 Things there, Trump is referred to him as a far left lunatic. I mean, that's one of his softer comments about Trudeau. They clearly don't like each other, and I don't think that's good for Canada, is it?
No, I would say not. And then he has said some pretty hard stuff to walk back from about Donald Trump, and their party has used Donald Trump as a rhetoric thing against Pierre Poilievre. So those are pretty tough to walk back from.
Yeah, he's been the sort of enemy at the gates, hasn't he? He's been like the nightmare that lingers, and I think he's back now. So that is very, very awkward.
They've overplayed that hand, so that they could put, which they thought was a lot of hatred towards him, put a lot of that on Pierre Poilievre. That's been their biggest tar brush that they've used. I just don't think Canadian people are going to buy it anymore.
And just even lest we forget, look at our own business here in British Columbia when we had an election where the campaign strategist for John Rustad was photographed wearing a Donald Trump hat, Make America Great Again hat, and that was a point of contention. That was an NDP point that they attacked the Conservatives with, and it's a little bit awkward now that guy is the president, and that's BC's biggest trading partner.
And the same thing goes for our national media, which has seemed to have this paintbrush out for a long time, an anti-Trump brush that they've tried to brush onto Pierre Poilievre as well. I'm just wondering what their stance is going to be going forward.
Well, it seems from the early signs that it's back to business, back to being negative about Trump. Well, they never stopped, did they? So
no,
that's what it looks like.
Well, if he's going to usher in a golden age in the United States, I think the Canadians would rather be a part of that than on the bad end of that stick.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, that's the thing a lot of people seem to forget. From our perspective, that's 100% the story, really, isn't it? It's like a lot of people get very deeply involved in Democrats v Republicans, but I think we should really ask what's in it for us, and that's how we have to operate. If that means being friendly to somebody that a lot of people don't like, then do it, I would say.
There's a song way back in the 60s, I think it was called Roller Skate. You've got a brand new roller skate and I got a brand new key. And I think Canada holds the key to a prosperous United States with all the resources we have, whether that's oil and gas, lumber, LNG, mining, uranium, wheat, all that stuff.
That's a big one.
Canada could be the biggest supplier in the world, and our current government has been reluctant to supply even when the Europeans are begging for it. So, interesting.
Very, very interesting, yeah.
Anyway, that's it for today in your Need to Know. And by all means, send some comments. And we'll see you tomorrow morning.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.